r/ask Reddit. What was insanely hyped up only to flop horribly. Google Plus. People only have it because Google made on for you and forced you to have it. I feel like one of the single biggest reasons why I hate Google Plus was because I hate the idea of having my real name plastered over the internet, and Google Plus kept trying to force a different YouTube account onto me which had my name plastered right there. Google would add your profile picture for Google Plus onto your emails. I didn't realize this until I sent resumes to potential employers accompanied by a picture of a cartoon pony. EHH. Mine had a little monster and I still got the job, eventually. Back when it was coming out I used to use StumbleUpon, random website button guided by interests, and it took me to some site that had a bunch of Pro-G Plus memes that Google had obviously made themselves. It was stuff like meanwhile over at Facebook with a gif of a tumbleweed. It was kinda sad. Windows phones. I've got one, and they stopped patching it right after releasing an update that ruined the music app. Pokemon Go Fest 2017. This year's apparently went pretty smoothly, but last year's was a disaster. 20,000 people were crammed into a park and choked the cell phone network, so basically nobody could do exactly what they came there to do. Play Pokemon Go. Many people from Niantic got up on stage and were booed and greeted by chants of "we can't play." It was a disaster. This year they go in contact with cell tower providers extremely early and had things set in place to not have a repeat. They also did not do any video live stream, because 2017 was a nightmare, as you said. People throwing things at people on stage and at YouTubers. They also extended the in-game benefits to cover into downtown Chicago, rather than just Lincoln Park, to mitigate a lot of issues. But yeah, 2017 was a hot mess. Pokemon Go not working and servers being down sounds about right for my Pokemon Go experiences. Entertainment 720. The party was dope though. They had a ducking wall of shrimp. I still don't understand how no one questioned the fact that they clearly spent 100-200k on that final party with their last 10k. Shit's cheap in Indiana. It's really best to not think about money at all while watching P&R. There were comedic explanations for why Ron and Donna were secretly wealthy, but no one seemed to care that all of the women working in mid-level city government jobs in a city of 60,000-ish people wore $500 plus outfits to work every day. Radioactive glazing on dinnerware. Yep, turns out glowing dinnerware is less cool than cancer. Wait, that was a thing? WTF. Dippin' Dots has been the ice cream of the future for 30 years. The Edmonton Oilers of ice cream. Fire Festival. Cheese sandwich though. Following Dashkin. Followed by Tanakan. Dashkin is pestilence. Fire Festival is famine. Tanakan is war. Now we anxiously await the fourth convention of the apocalypse. The movie adaptation of Christopher Paolini's Aragorn. Ugh. This one hurt me. I was super excited to see it after reading the book. I remember the intense disappointment about 20-30 minutes into the movie. I wanted to walk out at that point, but I was with a friend who hadn't read the book, so it wasn't as horrible to her. The fact that there were no elves or dwarfs in the movie blew my mind. They basically were making sure there would never be a sequel movie. Google Glass. Yeah, what happened? For a period of a few months it was the way of the future, and now I realize I haven't heard much about it for years. I imagine many places banning Google Glass before it even came out kind of killed it. The other problem was that users can't wear their prescription glasses underneath it, and the group of people who would buy Google Glass overlaps very heavily with the group of people with shitty vision. No Man's Sky. The Last Airbender movie. I went and saw it even after seeing its 15% rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Big mistake. I went opening day with some friends who are also huge fans of the show, and when the movie was over we just kind of left and never spoke about it again. For a week before the premiere, a friend of mine shaved his hair bald except for the young arrow. It looked sick to all us high schoolers. Right after the movie came out he made it into a mohawk and convinced everyone not to spend money on that movie buff. Yay. One I can answer. Geraldo Rivera's live television special opening Al Capone's Vault. I was a junior in high school in 1986, and remember well how crazily hyped this special was. It was nuts. Geraldo had a medical examiner on set in case bodies were found, and IRS agents were there in case anything valuable was discovered. I remember well when the vault was finally opened, and it was basically empty. I'll never forget Geraldo's dazed yet disappointed face when he realized he'd have to vamp, talking about nothing until the end of the show. It was awesome. I was so pissed off. I think they found an empty old wine bottle or something. It definitely looks like 1930s junk. I ducking lost it. I was deliriously happy at his complete dejection. Dashcon. Ball pit. I want to know what happened to the sack of money everyone threw their donations into to save the con. As someone who went to the con and had a friend donate, no one actually knows. There were promises of reimbursement but no one was keeping track of how much money or who even put it in. The hotel management was incredibly nice and I find it hard to believe that they didn't know what the duck was actually going on, because from what was told the price to host the con got jacked up because they weren't expecting the weirdos. Not hotel's wording, but general gist of the person announcing. But really, the con was a mess. So many guests didn't have their hotel or flight paid for even though it was promised to them. The godforsaken bullpit. Homestucks. The sad excuse for a cosplay contest. But at least there was an IKEA. Suicide Squad. Spoilers. So the initial point of the movie is just to assemble a team with no apparent villain yet. Then the team only receives the funding green light because the military dude sees what the Enchantress can do. Despite never seeing anyone else, she immediately goes rogue and becomes the villain. And what does the military guy do? Send in the other members of the Suicide Squad whom he has never seen before to stop the Enchantress, who was the whole reason the team got the green light in the first place. Way to lay a poor decision on poor decision. That movie reads like the plot was written by a 4-year-old, and also the Joker is in there ducking shit up for some reason. Jesus, what a catastrophe. So the initial point of the movie is just to assemble a team with no apparent villain yet. It's worse than that. They intended to assemble a team to rival ducking Superman. So they got a guy who shoots good, a crazy chick, a fireball, a guy who literally throws boomerangs, a human crocodile, a witch they can't control, a guy who can climb things, a chick with a soul sword, and an army dude to control them. That was the team that was meant to rival Superman. Ducking Superman. It's like DC just says a massive duck you to the source material every time they decide to make a new film. The premise of the actual Suicide Squad isn't even close to the movie. Tanakan. What a hot mess, lol. Eli 5. Segways. Mall cops seem to love them. Seems like they're the only ones who do. I remember seeing them in malls all over when they first came out. They were advertised as a method of transportation. Now it seems like only cops and some tour places use them. Our power of a phone. Portability of a console. Wait, how was this even funded? The idea of having a new console on the market was intriguing. Plus there are a bunch of indie game devs that would love to get their games plastered in the unclaimed territory of a new console instead of the extremely saturated Steam market. Steam console. Let's get a bunch of third-party PC builders to sell specially branded and overpriced gaming machines that can only run a third of our available library because we decided to ship them with a modified Debian install instead of paying Microsoft a licensing fee. Can't see why that didn't take off. Every night ever. Night was amazing when we'd all be back on break from college or in high school and could go to house parties. Then after everyone turned 21 the obvious change was to go to bars. But you always need to pay a crazy cover or be so surrounded by people you have a miserable time. Sometimes it's both. Can't wait until my friends age out of going to bars and people have apartments big enough to host at. Evolve. So much hype behind it only for the player base to die in a month. I was so hyped for that game too, but it did seem like it was gonna fail. There just wasn't enough stuff in the game and a lot of it was a bunch of just walking around and doing nothing. The Galaxy Note 7 was literally a bomb. Outside of the whole exploding thing, that really was a great device. Connie 2012. I feel like people figured out it was dead when that dude went on a drug-fueled rampage while completely naked. Travel by Zeppelin. Never heard of that album. Possibly Movie Pass. I'm amazed they were able to stay afloat for as long as they did. The entire premise is literally the definition of too good to be true, and it always felt like it was only a matter of time before they shut down. Most DC movies. Google+. I work in advertising and it was hyped to hell in the weeks leading up to its launch, with the press basically assuming it would soon become a core social media program the way Facebook and Twitter were. There was a lot of discussion of how Facebook would handle the competition, and then it was launched and no one cared, at least not in the day-to-day world. My summary of the Google Plus experience was, imagine having Facebook, except without games or any of your friends. Title: Hey, us multimillionaire singers aren't getting enough money. This is why we've decided to offer you Tidal. Picture Spotify but a bit worse and double the price. I'm sure you'll love it. I am again if they got actual struggling local artists to advertise it. It would have fit their messaging. Just terrible marketing all around. Not to mention the only thing differentiating it, music quality. Regular audiences weren't willing to pay double the price for. Freddie Adu. Solar roadways. That was never gonna be a thing. Roads get damaged way too often for it to be cost effective, especially in areas with rough winters. It just wouldn't work. Zune. It was a financial flop, but the actual device was no better than an iPod and the software definitely beat out the piece of shit known as iTunes. But god, whatever idiot in marketing decided to call the wireless song sharing thing squirting deserved to be fired. Even the name Zune sounds like some executive's idea of an extreme name that will really get the kids interested. Suicide Squad. There were like 8 articles about how Leto was as crazy as Ledger, or how they had a psychiatrist on payroll and they were making sure Leto didn't disappear too far into the role because OS hit he might go totter like Krawazi, and then he was on screen for 8 minutes and the movie was dumb. The video game Sea of Thieves. Most of the player base quit within a week. I would say the 2 reasons for this was the lack of shit to do and it being on Game Pass. GP definitely helped create the player base, but it's a double-edged sword. For those unaware, Xbox One has a Game Pass for $9.99 a month with a catalog of games to play. New Microsoft exclusives are available to play on the same day they are released in stores. Sea of Thieves was one of those titles. I think a lot of people, myself included, hopped on, sailed around, played for an hour and that was it, and thought thank god I didn't spend $60 on that. Old fad reboots, the Ninja Turtles, Transformers, and Power Rangers movies in particular. I just saw Power Rangers yesterday and holy duck I was not impressed. The movie Waterworld. Word got out during production that it was the most expensive movie ever made. Between that and Kevin Costner in a leading role, how could it fail? I love this movie. I still don't understand why it flopped. Waterworld wasn't a failure. It was a success international and one of the first movies to make more internationally than domestically. While the domestic box office made it look like an awful investment, they still made a profit on it. If anything, Waterworld was the watershed moment where Hollywood realized they could pump out movies that Americans wouldn't really care for or endorse, and make money overseas. This has been the basic trend for a lot of action and reboot movies, most notably Transformers. Cube World. It didn't flop. It never did anything. The Atari Jaguar. Insert a massive amount of video games that failed horribly after release. IHOB. Spore. No Man's Sky. Spore was actually playable. Got at least 100 hours out of it once I got to the galactic phase. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content, bruh. It's free and that's a great price.